10,000 words in English. Levels from A0 to C2. Part number 9. Welcome to the new series of the Talk English Fluently channel. In this fresh collection, I will be explaining 10,000 words that cover levels from A0 to C2. This is a vast and rich compilation of words that will greatly enhance your English language skills. Please watch the video until the end, and if you have any suggestions for improving future videos in this series, kindly leave them in the comments section. I appreciate your support through comments, likes, and subscribing to my channel. Ready to begin? Let's go! Part number 9. 500 words. Modify.
She decided to modify the dress to fit better.
You can modify the settings to improve performance.
Permanent.
She got a permanent job at the company.
This marker leaves permanent marks on surfaces.
Sculpt.
He loves to sculpt figures out of clay.
The artist will sculpt a statue for the park.
Brochure.
The travel brochure highlights all the city's attractions.
I picked up a brochure about the museum's exhibits.
Pucker.
The lemon made her lips pucker.
Try not to pucker the fabric when sewing.
Pheasant.
The pheasant flew swiftly across the meadow.
They spotted a pheasant in the field.
Reconnaissance.
The soldiers went on a reconnaissance mission.
They gathered valuable information during the reconnaissance.
Dome.
We could see the stars through the dome.
The building has a glass dome.
Grueling.
The marathon was a grueling challenge.
They endured a grueling hike up the mountain.
Thumb.
She gave a thumbs up to show approval.
He accidentally cut his thumb while cooking.
Pastel.
She painted the sky with pastel colors.
The pastel shades made the room look bright.
Borderline.
The weather was borderline too cold for swimming.
Her test scores were borderline passing.
Trooper.
The trooper stopped the speeding car.
He dressed as a trooper for the costume party.
Accountant.
She hired an accountant to manage her taxes.
The accountant prepared the financial reports.
Fleck.
He received a lot of flack for his controversial opinion.
The pilot faced heavy flack during the mission.
Contrite.
His contrite apology seemed sincere.
She felt contrite after breaking the vase.
Accord.
They reached an accord after hours of negotiation.
The countries signed an accord to reduce emissions.
Shackle.
They planned to shackle the boat to the dock.
The prisoner wore a shackle on his ankle.
Intersperse.
Flowers intersperse the grassy lawn.
She likes to intersperse photos throughout her scrapbook.
Plea.
Her desperate plea for help was heard.
The lawyer entered a plea of not guilty.
Hydrate.
It's important to hydrate after exercise.
Drinking water will help you stay hydrated.
Screenplay.
The screenplay was based on a true story.
He wrote the screenplay for the new movie.
Fraudulent.
They uncovered a fraudulent scheme.
The company was fined for fraudulent activities.
Enigmatic.
He has an enigmatic smile.
The enigmatic message puzzled everyone.
Armchair.
She sat in the armchair to read her book.
The old armchair was very comfortable.
Sanitation.
The city improved its sanitation system.
Good sanitation practices prevent disease.
Voyeur.
The movie was about a voyeur spying on neighbors.
He felt like a voyeur watching their private moments.
Shoplift.
The store installed cameras to prevent shoplifting.
She was caught trying to shoplift a necklace.
Acquit.
The jury decided to acquit the defendant.
He was acquitted of all charges.
Integrate.
It's important to integrate new employees into the team.
The school aims to integrate students from different backgrounds.
Gastrointestinal.
She has a gastrointestinal disorder.
Certain foods can cause gastrointestinal discomfort.
Text.
Please text me when you arrive.
She sent a text to her friend.
Warrior.
The ancient warrior was known for his bravery.
They dressed as a warrior for the play.
Ranger.
He wants to be a forest ranger when he grows up.
The ranger guided us through the park.
Aerial.
The aerial view of the city was breathtaking.
They performed an aerial dance routine.
Consistent.
He follows a consistent exercise routine.
Her work is always consistent in quality.
Warhead.
The missile's warhead was dismantled.
They discussed the implications of a nuclear warhead.
Mob.
The angry mob demanded justice.
A mob gathered outside the building.
Author.
She is the author of several books.
The author signed copies of his latest novel.
Serum.
The antivenom serum saved his life.
The doctor administered the serum.
Stutter.
He tends to stutter when nervous.
She worked hard to overcome her stutter.
In.
The inn offered a delicious breakfast.
They stayed at a cozy inn by the sea.
Plasma.
They donated plasma at the blood bank.
Plasma TVS are known for their vibrant colors.
Busted.
She busted her phone screen.
The police busted the drug ring.
Ransom.
The kidnappers demanded a ransom.
They paid the ransom to secure his release.
But.
The cat wiggled its butt playfully.
He accidentally bumped into the door with his butt.
Inland.
They traveled inland to explore the countryside.
The inland city was far from the coast.
Principle.
The experiment was based on a scientific principle.
She is a person of strong principle.
Flush.
She felt a flush of embarrassment.
He pressed the button to flush the toilet.
Temperate.
They live in a temperate zone.
The climate here is temperate and mild.
Disclaim.
He will disclaim all responsibility for the accident.
The author chose to disclaim any connection to the scandal.
Signature.
His signature dish is famous at the restaurant.
She added her signature to the document.
Outmoded.
The computer is completely outmoded.
They replaced the outmoded equipment
Thou.
Thou art my friend.
Thou shalt not steal.
Spectator.
The spectator cheered loudly.
Each spectator had a great view of the stage.
Hybrid.
The plant is a hybrid of two species.
He drives a hybrid car.
Polio.
She was vaccinated against polio.
Polio was a common disease before the vaccine.
Adept.
He is adept at solving puzzles.
She is very adept at playing the piano.
Enclave.
The cultural enclave was vibrant and colorful.
They live in a small enclave of the city.
Wells.
Oil wells dot the landscape.
They draw water from deep wells.
Forego.
He decided to forego dessert.
They chose to forego the vacation this year.
Comrade.
She greeted her comrade with a smile.
He lost a comrade in battle.
Savory.
The stew had a rich, savory flavor.
He prefers savory snacks over sweet ones.
Discern.
She could barely discern the figure in the fog.
It's hard to discern the truth from the rumors.
Mumble.
He tends to mumble when he's tired.
I couldn't understand her mumble.
Warden.
The warden ensured the rules were followed.
The warden oversees the prison.
Whoop.
He let out a loud whoop of joy.
The children whooped with excitement.
Italic.
Use italic font to emphasize the text.
The word was written in italic script.
Cease.
They agreed to cease hostilities.
The noise will cease at midnight.
Startle.
He was startled by the sudden movement.
The loud noise will startle the baby.
Flannel.
He wore a warm flannel shirt.
The flannel sheets are very cozy.
Contaminate.
Make sure not to contaminate the sample.
Chemicals can contaminate water sources.
Emu.
An emu is a large flightless bird.
The emu ran quickly across the field.
Submissive.
Her submissive nature made her a good listener.
The dog became submissive around its owner.
Befall.
Bad luck seemed to befall him.
They feared what might befall them on the journey.
Parachute.
The parachute deployed perfectly.
He jumped out of the plane with a parachute.
Mortuary.
The mortuary handled the funeral arrangements.
She worked as an assistant in a mortuary.
Normative.
Normative guidelines help standardize practices.
The study focused on normative behaviors.
Resurrect.
They hope to resurrect the old tradition.
The project was resurrected after years of neglect.
Shuffle.
They shuffle their feet when they walk.
He likes to shuffle the deck of cards.
Theological.
They discussed theological concepts in class.
He wrote a theological thesis.
Chronic.
Chronic diseases require long-term treatment.
She suffers from chronic pain.
Crescent.
The moon was a shining crescent.
They baked crescent rolls for dinner.
Maniac.
She looked like a maniac with her wild hair.
He drove like a maniac on the highway.
Tweed.
He wore a tweed jacket to the meeting.
The tweed fabric was durable and stylish.
Sect.
The sect gathered for their weekly meeting.
They belonged to a religious sect.
Lou.
She asked where the loo was located.
The loo was out of order.
Motive.
What's your motive for doing this?
The detective searched for a motive.
Composite.
The sculpture was a composite of several materials.
They created a composite image from multiple photos.
Subjugate.
The dictator aimed to subjugate the people.
They sought to subjugate the neighboring lands.
Gourmet.
He is a gourmet chef.
They enjoyed a gourmet meal.
Analyst.
The analyst presented the data findings.
She works as a financial analyst.
Contraception.
They discussed various contraception methods.
Contraception helps prevent unwanted pregnancies.
Sanitary.
Use sanitary wipes to clean surfaces.
The kitchen must be kept sanitary.
Tract.
They bought a large tract of land.
The pamphlet is a religious tract.
Stern.
His stern expression made everyone silent.
The teacher gave a stern warning.
Nugget.
He found a gold nugget in the river.
She shared an interesting nugget of information.
Unify.
They work to unify the divided community.
The goal is to unify the team.
Schizophrenic.
He was diagnosed as schizophrenic.
The character in the film was schizophrenic.
Toss.
She will toss the salad before serving.
He likes to toss the ball in the air.
Fag.
In British slang, a fag refers to a cigarette.
He asked his friend for a fag during their break.
Charity.
The event raised a lot of money for charity.
She donates to charity every month.
Satisfactory.
Her performance was satisfactory.
The meal was satisfactory, but not exceptional.
Compact.
The car was small and compact.
She carried a compact umbrella in her bag.
Splay.
The cards began to splay out on the table.
The flowers splay in a beautiful arrangement.
Realm.
Science fiction often explores other realms.
The king ruled over his realm.
Hone.
She needs to hone her skills before the competition.
He spent years trying to hone his craft.
Disperse.
Seeds disperse in the wind.
The police ordered the crowd to disperse.
Raft.
They built a raft to cross the river.
The raft drifted down the stream.
Ivy.
She planted ivy along the garden wall.
The old building was covered in ivy.
Incursion.
The soldiers repelled the enemy's incursion.
The sudden incursion took them by surprise.
peck.
He greeted her with a peck on the cheek.
The bird gave a quick peck at the food.
Aristocracy.
The aristocracy lived in grand mansions.
They were members of the French aristocracy.
Manifest.
The ship's manifest listed all the cargo.
The symptoms began to manifest suddenly.
Quadruple.
Their profits quadrupled this year.
The recipe can be quadrupled for a larger group.
Basement.
The basement flooded during the storm.
They stored old furniture in the basement.
Primordial.
The scientists studied primordial life forms.
Primordial instincts drive many animal behaviors.
Rap.
The officer gave him a rap on the knuckles.
He performed a rap song at the concert.
Neon.
The sign was bright and neon.
She wore a neon green shirt.
Muscular.
The muscular dog ran quickly.
He has a very muscular build.
Lieutenant.
The lieutenant led the squad into battle.
She was promoted to lieutenant last year.
Frenzy.
The feeding frenzy attracted sharks.
The crowd was in a frenzy.
Pod.
They saw a pod of dolphins.
The peas are inside the pod.
Pious.
The pious monk prayed daily.
He is known for his pious nature.
Ore.
The miners extracted ore from the ground.
Ore is processed to extract metals.
Boundary.
They crossed the boundary into another country.
The fence marks the boundary of the property.
Sole.
She is the sole owner of the business.
His shoe has a worn-out sole.
Harass.
She felt harassed by the persistent calls.
They were warned not to harass the wildlife.
Recession.
The country is experiencing a recession.
Many businesses closed during the recession.
Spouse.
They have been spouses for 20 years.
She introduced her spouse at the party.
Converge.
The two roads converge at the bridge.
Their ideas converged into a single plan.
Exorbitant.
They paid an exorbitant amount for the house.
The prices at the restaurant were exorbitant.
Fuselage.
The plane's fuselage was damaged in the crash.
Workers repaired the fuselage overnight.
Offspring.
They are proud of their successful offspring.
The bird fed its offspring.
Gestate.
The elephant will gestate for 22 months.
Mammals gestate their young internally.
Oasis.
The garden was an oasis of calm.
They found an oasis in the desert.
Walnut.
She cracked a walnut open.
They used walnut wood for the table.
Hose.
The fireman coiled the hose after use.
He used a hose to water the garden.
Crate.
They packed the dishes in a crate.
The dog sleeps in a crate at night.
Ramble.
Her letters often ramble on about various topics.
He likes to ramble through the countryside.
Sow.
They plan to sow the seeds in spring.
Farmers sow their fields with crops.
Affiliate.
They chose to affiliate with a larger organization.
The local station is an affiliate of the network.
Alias.
The spy used an alias during the mission.
He created a new alias to avoid detection.
Caution.
The sign warned of caution ahead.
She exercised caution while driving.
Relish.
He ate the meal with relish.
She added a spoonful of relish to her burger.
Bool.
They raised a bull on their farm.
The bull charged at the matador.
Sacrifice.
He made a sacrifice for his family.
The ancient ritual involved a sacrifice.
Bias.
He tried to avoid bias in his judgment.
The study showed a bias in the results.
Velvet.
She wore a velvet dress.
The velvet curtain was heavy and soft.
Riddle.
He enjoys telling riddles.
The riddle was difficult to solve.
Secretariat.
The secretariat handled all the paperwork.
She worked in the secretariat of the organization.
Vanguard.
They were the vanguard of the new movement.
The troops formed the vanguard of the attack.
Bewilder.
The complex instructions bewilder me.
His sudden change in behavior bewildered everyone.
Barrow.
The ancient barrow contained artifacts.
They used a barrow to carry the soil.
Husky.
He has a husky voice.
The husky dog pulled the sled.
Whimper.
He heard a whimper from the corner of the room.
The puppy began to whimper softly.
Vicarious.
She got vicarious thrills from reading adventure stories.
They experienced a journey vicariously through photos.
Intifada.
He wrote a book about the First Intifada.
The Intifada lasted for several years.
Subway.
They took the subway to work.
The subway station was crowded.
Hostel.
The hostel was cheap but comfortable.
They stayed at a youth hostel during their trip.
Impart.
He wanted to impart his knowledge to others.
She imparted a sense of urgency to the team.
Secession.
The movement called for secession from the Union.
The country's secession led to a civil war.
Malign.
The rumors were meant to malign his reputation.
They spread malignant lies about her.
Teddy.
He won a teddy at the fair.
She hugged her teddy bear.
Zinc.
Zinc is an essential mineral.
They coated the metal with zinc.
Stride.
She took long strides across the field.
He walked with a confident stride.
Poach.
They were caught trying to poach deer.
She likes to poach eggs for breakfast.
Dominion.
They fought to protect their dominion.
The king had dominion over the land.
Spore.
The mushroom released a spore.
Spores can grow into new fungi.
elf,
The story featured a mischievous elf.
The elf helped Santa in his workshop.
opaque,
The glass was opaque and not transparent.
They installed opaque windows for privacy.
lass,
He danced with a lovely lass at the party.
The young lass was very cheerful.
trait,
Honesty is a valuable trait.
The plant has a unique trait.
calcium,
She takes a calcium supplement daily.
Calcium is important for strong bones.
namesake,
He is the namesake of his grandfather.
The city's namesake was a famous explorer.
charcoal,
She drew a picture with charcoal.
They used charcoal to start the grill.
header,
The header of the page includes the title.
He scored a goal with a powerful header.
foreshadow,
His early mistakes foreshadowed later problems.
The dark clouds foreshadow a storm.
shaman,
The shaman performed a healing ritual.
They sought advice from the village shaman.
petite,
The bakery sold petite pastries.
She wore a petite dress size.
cab,
They took a cab to the airport.
The cab driver was very friendly.
thesis,
His thesis was on renewable energy.
She defended her thesis successfully.
serpent,
The serpent slithered through the grass.
They worshipped a golden serpent.
stitch,
He felt a stitch in his side while running.
She learned how to stitch a quilt.
Termite.
The wooden house was infested with termites.
Termites can cause significant damage.
Populous.
They moved to a less populous area.
The city is highly populous.
Turn.
The tern flew over the ocean.
Terns are known for their long migrations.
Buddy.
They went fishing with their buddies.
He is my best buddy.
Assail.
The robber tried to assail him.
She felt assailed by doubts.
Ultrasound.
The doctor used ultrasound to examine the organs.
She had an ultrasound to check the baby's health.
Contour.
The artist sketched the contour of her face.
The map shows the contours of the terrain.
A whine.
He heard a whine coming from the engine.
The dog began to whine for attention.
Pillage.
The invaders came to pillage the village.
The museum was pillaged during the war.
Crush.
The machine can crush the cans easily.
He has a crush on his classmate.
Ivory.
The ivory carvings were beautiful.
She wore an ivory dress.
Reproductive.
Reproductive health is important.
They studied the reproductive system in biology.
Foliage.
The foliage turned red in the fall.
The dense foliage provided shade.
Iceberg.
The ship struck an iceberg.
Only the tip of the iceberg is visible.
Fabricate.
They plan to fabricate a new prototype.
The story was completely fabricated.
Constable.
She reported the theft to the constable.
The constable patrolled the streets.
Holistic.
She believes in a holistic approach to healthcare.
The holistic view considers all aspects of a person's life.
Cannon.
They fired the cannon during the reenactment.
The old cannon was displayed in the museum.
Glossy.
The magazine had glossy pages.
She admired her glossy hair in the mirror.
Monotony.
She broke the monotony of her routine by traveling.
The monotony of his job made him bored.
Rich.
They hiked along the mountain ridge.
The farm is located on a ridge overlooking the valley.
Trill.
She could trill her R's perfectly.
The bird's trill was beautiful.
Hitch.
They encountered a hitch in their plans.
He helped to hitch the trailer to the truck.
Emphasize.
She used italics to emphasize the key points.
The teacher likes to emphasize the importance of homework.
Parch.
The hot sun began to parch the soil.
Without water, the land would parch.
Rust.
They need to clean the rust off the tools.
The old bike was covered in rust.
Casserole.
She made a delicious casserole for dinner.
The casserole dish was still hot from the oven.
Trumpet.
The elephant's trumpet could be heard from afar.
He played the trumpet in the band.
Portal.
They discovered a portal to another world.
The website's portal provided access to various resources.
Array.
She admired the colorful array of flowers.
The store offered an array of products.
Darn.
She had to darn her socks.
Darn, I forgot my keys at home.
Disclosure.
He signed a non-disclosure agreement.
The disclosure of the secret shocked everyone.
Referendum.
They held a referendum on the new policy.
The referendum resulted in a significant change.
Succinct.
He gave a succinct summary of the article.
Her presentation was clear and succinct.
Clench.
He had to clench his fists in anger.
She felt a clench in her stomach from anxiety.
Tout.
The guy touted the historical significance of the site.
They tout their product as the best on the market.
Entrench.
The soldiers began to entrench their position.
The habit became deeply entrenched over time.
Crackle.
She could hear the crackle of the old radio.
The fire began to crackle in the fireplace.
Fiction.
She loves reading science fiction.
The story was pure fiction.
Transform.
The caterpillar will transform into a butterfly.
They plan to transform the old building into a museum.
Evade.
He tried to evade the question.
They managed to evade capture by hiding.
Bogey.
They spotted a bogey on the radar.
He made a bogey on the last hole of the golf course.
Egalitarian.
They believe in an egalitarian society.
The organization's principles are egalitarian.
Adore.
The fans adore the famous singer.
She absolutely adores her dog.
Autobiography.
She wrote her autobiography last year.
His autobiography became a bestseller.
Elicit.
The joke elicited laughter from the crowd.
The teacher tried to elicit a response from the students.
Cobra.
The cobra raised its hood and hissed.
They saw a cobra at the zoo.
Resign.
She wrote a letter to formally resign.
He decided to resign from his job.
Loot.
The thieves took all the loot from the store.
They planned to loot the abandoned building.
Palpable.
His excitement was almost palpable.
The tension in the room was palpable.
Fixture.
The new light fixture looks great.
The team has been a fixture in the league for years.
Gross.
Cleaning up the spill was a gross task.
The movie made a gross of $100 million.
Bequeath.
She plans to bequeath her jewelry to her niece.
The library was bequeathed a rare collection of books.
Unanimous.
They reached a unanimous agreement.
The decision was unanimous.
Expedite.
We need to expedite the shipping process.
The company will expedite your order.
Jest.
The jest made everyone laugh.
He said it in jest.
Recoup.
They hope to recoup their losses.
He tried to recoup his investment.
Insurrection.
The government quickly suppressed the insurrection.
The city was in chaos after the insurrection.
Cube.
She added a sugar cube to her tea.
They played with a Rubik's Cube.
Cautious.
They took a cautious approach to the problem.
She was very cautious when crossing the street.
Resource.
Water is a vital resource.
They provided us with helpful resources.
Overview.
The book provides an overview of the topic.
He gave an overview of the project.
Demonstrable.
The results were demonstrable.
There was demonstrable evidence of his success.
Penicillin.
She is allergic to penicillin.
Penicillin is used to treat bacterial infections.
Lucid.
She had a lucid dream last night.
His explanation was clear and lucid.
Nourish.
The soil will nourish the plants.
It's important to nourish your body with healthy food.
Glitter.
Her dress was covered in glitter.
The stars glittered in the night sky.
Strand.
They were stranded on a deserted island.
He found a strand of hair on the pillow.
Cider.
She enjoyed a glass of apple cider.
They make their own cider at home.
Ravage.
The disease ravaged the population.
The storm began to ravage the coastline.
Herald.
The arrival of the swallows heralds spring.
The newspaper Herald reported the event.
Snub.
They decided to snub the invitation.
She felt hurt by his snub.
Emigrate.
They plan to emigrate to Canada.
Many people emigrated during the war.
Grasp.
He has a firm grasp of the subject.
She couldn't grasp the concept.
Rampart.
The soldiers defended the rampart.
The castle's ramparts were impressive.
Intercom.
The intercom system was broken.
He spoke over the intercom.
Maverick.
He was known as a maverick in his field.
The maverick entrepreneur took bold risks.
Chaos.
The meeting ended in chaos.
The city was in chaos after the storm.
Digit.
He entered the wrong digit.
The number 7 is my favorite digit.
Fearsome.
She gave a fearsome glare.
The lion is a fearsome predator.
Mosaic.
The church has a beautiful mosaic.
They created a mosaic with colorful tiles.
Stipulate.
They stipulated that the work must be completed by June.
The contract stipulates the terms of the agreement.
Sob.
She began to sob uncontrollably.
He heard a faint sob from the next room.
Prose.
His prose is very elegant.
She writes in both prose and poetry.
Shimmer.
The water began to shimmer in the sunlight.
Her dress had a slight shimmer.
Wizard.
He is a wizard at solving puzzles.
The wizard cast a spell.
Uproar.
The announcement caused an uproar.
There was an uproar in the crowd.
Confound.
His response confounded his critics.
The puzzle seemed to confound everyone.
Jaguar.
They saw a jaguar in the jungle.
The jaguar is a powerful predator.
Supple.
She has a supple and flexible body.
The leather is very supple. Mold. The bread began to mold.
They made a cast from a clay mold.
Salvage.
The team worked to salvage the project.
They tried to salvage what they could from the wreckage.
Intellectual.
He enjoys intellectual discussions.
The university is known for its intellectual community.
Chisel.
The stone was shaped with a chisel.
He used a chisel to carve the wood.
Infatuate.
He is infatuated with his new hobby.
Her beauty infatuated him.
Bondage.
The novel is about a hero who breaks free from bondage.
They fought to escape bondage.
Shroud.
The mountain was shrouded in mist.
They covered the body with a shroud.
Acrobat.
She trained as an acrobat from a young age.
The acrobat performed amazing stunts.
Stallion.
The stallion galloped across the field.
They bred the stallion with a mare.
Yuan.
She exchanged her dollars for yuan.
The price was listed in yuan.
Merit.
She received an award for her merit.
The proposal has a lot of merit.
Microprocessor.
He studied microprocessor technology.
The computer's microprocessor is very fast.
Cadmium.
Cadmium is used in batteries.
The paint contained traces of cadmium.
Pulpit.
He approached the pulpit nervously.
The preacher spoke from the pulpit.
Rescind.
They decided to rescind the offer.
The policy was rescinded after the protests.
Frank.
The value of the franc has increased.
He paid in Swiss francs.
Facility.
The sports facility is very modern.
They opened a new research facility.
Romantic.
The movie had a romantic storyline.
He planned a romantic dinner for two.
Nominal.
There was only a nominal fee for the service.
His role in the project was nominal.
Paged.
He paged through the book quickly.
The doctor was paged to the emergency room.
Holly.
They decorated the house with holly.
The holly berries were bright red.
Prognosis.
They discussed the patient's prognosis.
The prognosis for recovery is good.
Disgrace.
The scandal brought disgrace to the family.
He felt a deep sense of disgrace.
Multitude.
There is a multitude of options to choose from.
A multitude of people attended the event.
Monsieur.
Monsieur Dupont is our French teacher.
They greeted the visitor with bonjour, monsieur.
Adjust.
He quickly adjusted to the new environment.
She had to adjust her schedule.
Fate.
They believed their fate was sealed.
He accepted his fate with courage.
Scorch.
The sun can scorch unprotected skin.
The fire began to scorch the forest.
Perish.
Many plants perish in the winter cold.
The crew feared they might perish at sea.
Papacy.
He studied the influence of the papacy in medieval Europe.
The papacy has a long history.
Ledge.
The cat sat on the window ledge.
He balanced carefully on the narrow ledge.
Tolerate.
They tolerate each other's differences.
She couldn't tolerate the noise.
Rowdy.
The rowdy crowd was hard to control.
The teacher calmed the rowdy students.
Befit.
His actions do not befit a gentleman.
The elegant dress befits the occasion.
Limp.
He walked with a noticeable limp.
She tried not to limp despite the pain.
Swivel.
He watched the fin swivel back and forth.
The chair can swivel 360 degrees.
Statue.
The statue stood tall in the park.
They admired the statue of the famous leader.
Ethereal.
She looked ethereal in the soft light.
The music had an ethereal quality.
Droop.
The flowers began to droop in the heat.
His shoulders would droop when he was tired.
Dairy.
He has a dairy allergy.
She bought milk from the dairy farm.
Strife.
The country has been torn by strife.
Family strife can be very distressing.
Underfund.
Many schools are underfunded and need more resources.
The program is underfunded and struggling.
Practicable.
The solution must be practicable and efficient.
It is not always practicable to implement these ideas.
Seethe.
The pot started to seethe as it boiled.
He began to seethe with anger.
Peptide.
They studied the structure of the peptide.
Peptides are short chains of amino acids.
Errand.
He asked me to do an errand for him.
She ran a quick errand to the store.
Rally.
They attended a political rally.
The team managed to rally in the second half.
Acknowledge.
He nodded to acknowledge the greeting.
She refused to acknowledge her mistake.
Algae.
The pond was covered in green algae.
They studied different types of algae.
Dull.
Dal is a staple in many Indian households.
She prepared a delicious dal for dinner.
Encompass.
The plan will encompass several new initiatives.
The property encompasses a large area.
Bracket.
The tournament bracket was announced yesterday.
Place the bookend on the bracket.
Erase.
She used an eraser to erase the pencil marks.
They wanted to erase all traces of the incident.
Stealth.
They planned the mission with great stealth.
The ninja moved with stealth.
Accede.
She refused to accede to their demands.
The government decided to accede to the treaty.
Penguin.
They watched a documentary about penguins.
The penguin waddled across the ice.
Rudiment.
He learned the rudiments of the language.
Understanding the rudiments of math is essential.
Contraction.
She felt a sharp contraction in her muscles.
The word don't is a contraction.
Closet.
He stored his clothes in the closet.
The closet was full of old coats.
Arson.
He was arrested for committing arson.
The fire was caused by arson.
Amateur.
The amateur painter won a prize.
He enjoys amateur photography.
Ordnance.
They found unexploded ordnance in the field.
The military base stored a lot of ordnance.
Wasp.
A wasp stung him on the arm.
He saw a wasp nest in the tree.
Landlord.
She complained to her landlord about the plumbing.
The landlord raised the rent.
Vine.
The vine climbed up the wall.
Grapes grow on a vine.
Relative.
They discuss their relative strengths.
She is my distant relative.
Bluff.
He called her bluff.
They stood on the edge of the bluff.
Spreadsheet.
The data was organized in a spreadsheet.
She created a spreadsheet for the budget.
Cordon.
Police put up a cordon around the area.
They formed a cordon to keep the crowd back.
Psychotic.
He exhibited psychotic behavior.
The character in the movie appeared psychotic.
Rebuke.
He received a sharp rebuke from his boss.
The teacher did not hesitate to rebuke the students.
Antique.
They visited an antique shop.
She collects antique furniture.
Nativity.
The church displayed a nativity scene.
They performed a nativity play.
Conform.
The building must conform to safety regulations.
He refused to conform to the rules.
Hedonist.
He lived like a hedonist, seeking pleasure in everything.
The novel's main character is a hedonist.
Traverse.
The hikers began to traverse the rocky terrain.
They will traverse the mountain next week.
Sensual.
The perfume had a sensual scent.
They shared a sensual dance.
Leech.
Rainwater may leach nutrients from the soil.
Chemicals can leach into the soil.
Boat.
These early results bode well for the project.
Dark clouds bode a storm.
Maim.
They were careful not to maim the animals.
The explosion could maim many people.
Underline.
The teacher asked them to underline key points.
She used a highlighter to underline important words.
Aura.
The room had an eerie aura.
She has a calming aura.
Recline.
She likes to recline in her chair.
The seats can recline for more comfort.
Pharmacology.
Advances in pharmacology have saved many lives.
He is studying pharmacology at university.
Neurosis.
He suffers from a mild neurosis.
The therapy helped to manage her neurosis.
Destabilize.
Economic issues may destabilize the country.
The attack could destabilize the region.
Cocoon.
The caterpillar formed a cocoon.
She felt safe in the cocoon of her home.
Paratrooper.
The paratroopers were deployed behind enemy lines.
He served as a paratrooper in the army.
Differentiate.
It's important to differentiate between fact and opinion.
They struggled to differentiate the twins.
Grove.
The grove was filled with fruit trees.
They walked through the olive grove.
Sonic.
The jet broke the sonic barrier.
They experienced sonic vibrations during the test.
Literacy.
Literacy is crucial for personal development.
They aim to improve literacy rates.
Posse.
The sheriff gathered a posse.
They formed a posse to search for the missing child.
Assess.
The test will assess your skills.
They need to assess the damage.
Allure.
The city has a unique allure.
She couldn't resist the allure of the adventure.
Pedal.
She picked up a fallen petal.
Each petal of the rose was perfect.
Exterminate.
They called pest control to exterminate the ants.
The goal was to exterminate the invasive species.
Anterior.
The interior door leads to the main hall.
The anterior part of the brain is involved in decision-making.
Artifact.
The museum displayed an ancient artifact.
They discovered a rare artifact during the excavation.
Duo.
They are a famous comedy duo.
The musical duo performed well.
Gills.
Fish breathe through their gills.
The gills of the mushroom are visible underneath the cap.
Basil.
The smell of basil filled the kitchen.
She added fresh basil to the recipe.
Tag.
They played a game of tag.
The shirt had a price tag on it.
Glucose.
The body uses glucose for energy.
Glucose levels are important for diabetics.
Fiduciary.
He has a fiduciary duty to his clients.
The fiduciary must act in the best interest of the trust.
Lethargy.
The heat caused widespread lethargy.
She felt a sense of lethargy after the meal.
Deutschmark.
They exchanged their dollars for Deutschmarks.
The Deutschmark was replaced by the euro.
Slender.
The tree had a slender trunk.
She has a slender figure.
Inkling.
He had an inkling of what was to come.
She didn't have an inkling about the surprise party.
Supernova.
They observed a supernova in a distant galaxy.
A supernova is a powerful explosion of a star.
Conserve.
We need to conserve water.
Efforts to conserve wildlife are important.
Drawl.
Her drawl made her speech unique.
He spoke with a southern drawl.
Entourage.
The celebrity arrived with her entourage.
He travels with a large entourage.
Temple.
He prayed at the temple daily.
They visited an ancient temple.
Lest.
He spoke quietly, lest he be overheard.
She studied hard, lest she fail the exam.
Constrict.
Tight clothing can constrict movement.
The snake can constrict its prey.
Dove.
A white dove symbolizes peace.
The dove flew away quickly.
Saddle.
He adjusted the saddle before riding.
She put the saddle on the horse.
Indie.
She loves indie films.
They started an indie band.
Dodge.
She had to dodge the oncoming traffic.
He tried to dodge the ball.
Exile.
He lived in exile for many years.
The king was forced into exile.
Cigar.
The cigar smoke filled the room.
He enjoyed a cigar after dinner.
Ferocity.
The lion attacked with ferocity.
The ferocity of the storm surprised everyone.
Circulate.
Rumors began to circulate about the event.
Blood circulates through the body.
Disband.
The group decided to disband.
The club may disband due to lack of members.
Nibble.
The rabbit began to nibble on the carrot.
He took a small nibble of the cookie.
Itinerary.
She printed out the travel itinerary.
The tour guide followed the itinerary closely.
Communism.
Communism was the dominant ideology in several countries during the 20th century.
The book explains the principles of communism.
Needy.
They donated food to the needy.
The organization provides support to needy families.
Convent.
The convent is located on a quiet hillside.
She decided to join a convent.
Chill.
There was a chill in the air.
He likes to chill with his friends on weekends.
Venus.
Venous blood returns to the heart.
The doctor examined the venous circulation in his legs.
Time.
She added fresh thyme to the soup.
Thyme is a common herb used in cooking.
Overdue.
She tends to overdo the decorations for the holidays.
Don't overdo the exercise, or you might get injured.
Neurology.
He is specializing in neurology.
Neurology deals with disorders of the nervous system.
Spontaneity.
She appreciated his spontaneity and sense of adventure.
Their trip was full of spontaneity.
Litter.
Please do not litter in the park.
The cat had a litter of kittens.
Trilogy.
I just finished reading the final book of the trilogy.
The author is famous for her fantasy trilogy.
Sparrow.
A sparrow landed on the windowsill.
They watched the sparrow build its nest.
Sedate.
The atmosphere in the library was quiet and sedate.
The vet will sedate the animal before surgery.
Distinct.
The two flavors are very distinct.
She has a distinct style of writing.
Dime.
He found a dime on the sidewalk.
A dime is worth 10 cents.
Audition.
She was nervous about her audition.
He nailed the audition and got the part.
Sign.
They graphed the sine wave in class.
In trigonometry, the sine function is important.
Badminton.
They played badminton in the backyard.
She joined the badminton club at school.
Thump.
He heard the thump of his own heartbeat.
There was a loud thump from upstairs.
Predict.
Scientists predict that the storm will hit tomorrow.
It is hard to predict the future.
Queue.
They waited in a long queue for tickets.
She is next in the queue.
Ladle.
She used a ladle to serve the soup.
The ladle hung on the side of the pot.
Landmark.
The old tree served as a landmark for the village.
The Eiffel Tower is a famous landmark.
Strain.
He felt a strain in his back.
The project put a strain on their relationship.
Awning.
The awning provided some shade.
They sat under the awning to stay out of the sun.
Versus.
The game was Team A versus Team B.
It's a matter of quality versus quantity.
Snippet.
They shared a snippet of the new song.
She read a snippet from the book.
Kidnap.
The movie is about a plot to kidnap the president.
The police rescued the kidnapped victim.
Impregnate.
They planned to impregnate the cattle using artificial methods.
The scientist worked to impregnate the material with the new substance.
Faculty.
She is a member of the university faculty.
The faculty met to discuss the new curriculum.
Undertake.
He agreed to undertake the responsibility.
They will undertake the project next year.
Freeze.
The ancient temple had a beautifully carved frieze.
They admired the frieze around the top of the building.
Grind.
He had to grind through a lot of paperwork.
She used a mortar and pestle to grind the spices.
Twilight.
The town looked beautiful in the twilight.
They enjoyed a walk in the twilight.
Perfusion.
They measured the perfusion in the patient's limbs.
Adequate perfusion is vital for tissue health.
Implant.
The surgeon will implant a new heart valve.
She decided to get a dental implant.
Respectability.
The scandal damaged his respectability.
He maintained an air of respectability.
Lunatic.
They thought he was a lunatic.
The story is about a mad lunatic.
Habitual.
Habitual exercise is important for health.
He is a habitual latecomer.
Mellow.
The wine had a mellow flavor.
He was in a mellow mood.
Mystique.
She was drawn to the mystique of the unknown.
The old castle had a certain mystique.
Ostrich.
An ostrich can run very fast.
They saw an ostrich at the zoo.
Swerve.
The car began to swerve on the icy road.
He had to swerve to avoid the deer.
pearl.
She wore a pearl necklace.
They found a pearl inside the oyster.
Parchment.
She used a piece of parchment for the letter.
The document was written on parchment.
Jolly.
He was a jolly fellow.
The holiday season made everyone feel jolly.
Junction.
The junction of the two roads is busy.
Turn left at the next junction.
Apprentice.
He is an apprentice in a carpentry shop.
The apprentice learned quickly from his mentor.
Sir.
The Sur region is known for its beaches.
They traveled to the south, or sur, of the country.
Panty.
She bought a new panty set.
The store sells various styles of panties.
Secrete.
They can secrete a sticky substance for defense.
The glands secrete hormones.
Dissuade.
He tried to dissuade her from quitting.
They were able to dissuade him from making a mistake.
Disheveled.
Her hair was disheveled from the wind.
He looked disheveled after the long trip.
Amidst.
They stood amidst the ruins.
She found herself amidst a crowd of people.
Colitis.
Colitis can cause severe abdominal pain.
The patient was diagnosed with colitis.
Wrist.
He wore a watch on his wrist.
She broke her wrist in the fall.
Exterior.
The building's exterior is very modern.
The exterior of the house needs painting.
Pizza.
They ordered a large pizza.
She loves to eat pizza on Fridays.
Destination.
They finally reached their destination.
Paris is a popular tourist destination.
Folder.
She put the papers in a folder.
The project files are in this folder.
Gender.
They discussed issues related to gender equality.
The survey included questions about gender.
Fade.
The colors began to fade in the sunlight.
Her smile started to fade.
Peg.
The tent was secured with a peg.
He hung his coat on a peg.
Tangle.
The wires were in a tangle.
Her hair was a tangle of curls.
Retard.
Certain chemicals can retard the growth of bacteria.
Thick curtains can retard the fading of furniture.
Scan.
He needs to scan the documents.
They will scan the area for signs of life.
Offset.
They planted trees to offset their carbon emissions.
The gains offset the losses.
Nutritious.
She prepared a nutritious meal.
Fruits and vegetables are very nutritious.
Deposit.
Minerals deposit in the rocks over time.
He made a deposit at the bank.
Resonant.
His voice was deep and resonant.
The bell has a resonant sound.
Ostentatious.
He avoided wearing ostentatious jewelry.
The mansion was large and ostentatious.
Course.
He joined the Marine Corps.
The Corps of Engineers was responsible for the project.
Behalf.
She thanked them on behalf of her family.
He spoke on behalf of the group.
Fetal.
The ultrasound showed the fetal development.
Fetal movements can often be felt by the mother.
Armor.
Modern soldiers use body armor.
The knight wore shining armor.
Guru.
He is a tech guru.
They sought advice from a yoga guru.
Aegis.
The policy was implemented under the aegis of the new government.
The project was completed under the aegis of the university.
Collision.
There was a collision on the highway.
The collision of ideas led to a great debate.
Recluse.
The famous author was known to be a recluse.
He lived as a recluse in the mountains.
Swell.
Her ankle began to swell after the injury.
The sea started to swell with the incoming tide.
Ombudsman.
She filed a report with the ombudsman.
The ombudsman addressed the public's complaints.
Slant.
The roof has a steep slant.
His writing has a particular slant.
Steer.
The cowboys tried to steer the herd.
He learned to steer the boat.
Bureaucracy.
The government bureaucracy can be very slow.
Navigating the bureaucracy is often frustrating.
Bully.
He used to bully his classmates.
The school has a zero-tolerance policy for bullies.
Falcon.
The falcon soared high in the sky.
They trained the falcon for hunting.
Soy.
Soy products are popular among vegetarians.
She added soy sauce to the dish.
Notoriety.
The criminal gained notoriety for his heists.
The celebrity's notoriety brought unwanted attention.
Censor.
They installed a temperature sensor in the room.
The motion sensor turned on the light.
Conciliate.
He tried to conciliate between the warring factions.
The mediator's job was to conciliate the parties involved.
Zodiac.
The zodiac sign Aries is represented by a ram.
She read her zodiac horoscope daily.
Fuel.
They need more fuel for the trip.
Rising prices are driven by high demand for fuel.
Interface.
They are working on a new interface for the app.
The software has a user-friendly interface.
Diary.
She writes in her diary every night.
His diary entries were very detailed.
Partake.
Guests can partake of the buffet.
They invited him to partake in the festivities.
Florist.
She bought flowers from the florist.
The florist arranged a beautiful bouquet.
Dinghy.
The dinghy was tied to the dock.
They rowed the dinghy to shore.
Exception.
There is an exception to every rule.
He made an exception for her.
Corrupt.
Corrupt practices are widespread in the industry.
The official was accused of being corrupt.